Welcome to the IIBA Tampa Bay, Florida chapter study group. Today is October 3rd. Didn't update the date again. This is our 138th study group. Welcome. Today we're going to be talking about Agile, and we're going to be using the tool LeanCoffee. Today is a very unique meeting. We are partnering with two other organizations out of Tampa. One is the Tampa Women in Agile, or Tampa WIA, and the other one is the Tampa Product Group. I'm going to introduce those folks here in just a minute. My name is Thea Soren. I'm the president of the IIBA Tampa Bay chapter. I'm also the vice president of career and professional development. All of that means is it's my job to help you. If you need something, reach out to me on LinkedIn and we'll see what we can do to help. I'm also the founder of the BA Force Multiplier Movement. I'm one of the authors of the Business Analysis Body of Knowledge version 3 and one of the authors of the Business Analysis Bridging the Gap Between Industries. Again, if you need help, reach out to me on LinkedIn. We are really proud of the impact that we've been able to have in our community. These are the folks that have reached out to us to say, because of our chapter, because of our study group, they've been able to pass their certifications. They did a lot of the work, but we were able to help. And so we celebrate that. Those that are in red went on to be leadership in other chapters. Those that are in green are currently or have been leadership in our chapter. We sincerely appreciate that. The one at the bottom, Promise, is going to be doing a presentation to our chapter on October 10th, and we're looking forward to that. This is our board. You can see a few new names on there. Olga has joined our board as a board member at large. Rejoice has joined our board as a board member at large. We're looking for 2 more board members. If you want to know what it takes to be a board member or what it would be asked of you, reach out to me. I'll tell you, it's not a lot. We have members, literal members all over the world. We're so excited that they wanted to join our chapter. If you belong to the IIBA, but you don't have a chapter, you can join ours. You can join the one that's closest to you locally. If they meet in person, I encourage you to do that. If they don't meet in person, join the chapter that serves your needs. I don't care where in the world it is. If they will take you, join the chapter that serves your needs. We have several ways that you can reach out to us. We have our Thursday night study group, which is tonight. And you probably found us on LinkedIn due to our marketing person's fantastic efforts. We also have our meeting recordings on YouTube. We have 130 hours of meeting recordings there. We have Bob Churchill's incredible index at rpchurchill.com, which will take you to exactly the topics that you're looking for. Jump into the videos. He's done an immense amount of work, and we sincerely appreciate that. We also have our IIBA Tampa Bay chapter website, which has our calendar on it. We're working to update that to also put on there the calendars of our partners so that you can have a one-stop shop for the calendars. That is a work in progress. Our study group advisors are Esther and Bob. They lean in to help us. They've earned their certifications, and we want to give them appropriate credit. They're able to say, this is what it's like to take the test. So we appreciate whenever they're able to be here. Bob is on the road at the moment, and so Esther is here filling in for everybody. Thank you, Esther. If you live in Florida and you want to meet in person, reach out to me. I'm organizing a couple of people that want to meet in Orlando, a couple of people that want to meet in Jacksonville. Miami does have a chapter. If you want to meet in the Miami area, I'm going to refer you to them. Otherwise, we're going to open branches of our chapter wherever you are that you have a couple of people that want to meet. We are looking for emerging professionals. These are college students who'd like to graduate college belonging to a professional organization and possibly having a professional certification. It will put them head and shoulders above all the other people graduating college with a degree. Reach out to us. We have our Director of Emerging Professionals, Kennedy Davis, that's running that. These are the associations that we're partnering with. As I said, Tampa WIA is here tonight, and the Tampa Bay Product Group are here tonight. We also partner with the IIBA in Ireland, the IIBA in the Philippines, and the IIBA chapter in Bluegrass. The Philippines and Ireland are the ones that I teach at for a series. Watermark Learning has offered us a a discount code of Tampa21 for 40% off of all their products, project management, business analysis. They've got several different categories, and it's on all their products, including their practice test questions and their flashcards. Adaptive US has also given us a discount code on 20% of their products. This is live classes, on-demand courses, excluding their IIBA exam vouchers because their profit margin isn't 20% on those. So this is the discount code for that, and you can use it. These are the certifications from the IIBA that we work with. The top 3 are from the BABOK, the Business Analysis Body of Knowledge. The bottom 4 are specialty certifications in Agile, data analytics, cybersecurity, and product ownership. If you want more information, you can either go to IIBA.org or reach out to me and I'll be glad to direct you. Tonight, we're going to be working with the Tampa Bay Women in Agile and the Tampa Bay Product Group to talk about what Agile is, and we're going to go through a LeanCoffee exercise. I'm really excited about this. Many of us have heard about LeanCoffee, but not all of us have actually done it. You're going to be able to learn the basics here tonight, but it is an art form, just like every other facilitation technique. You can see it and you can practice it, but you're not going to get comfortable with it until you do it 10, 15 times, and then you'll be good at it. But you got to learn and you got to start. So we're going to do that. Also, Vicki is introducing a new tool that is specifically made for LeanCoffee virtually. And so I'm excited that we're going to get to practice that. In October, on the 10th, Promise is going to be talking about Salesforce as a business analyst, and I'm looking forward to that. On the 17th, David is going to be talking about influencing without authority. You know how we are leaders, but we don't have leadership authority? He's going to be talking about that. He's going to be giving us key strategies for business analysis. Tom is going to be coming to visit us on the 24th, the care and feeding of developers, and how we can best work with our development team. And then Felicia's joining us on October 31st, and she's going to be talking about her seminar and Techie Visions, Crafting Your Future in the Digital World, the book that she recently put out. It is fantastic. And then in November, Pam is going to talk about how to make your stakeholders talk. This is going to be specifically to get them to talk whenever we need them to, and to keep them from talking whenever that would be disruptive, which I'm really looking forward to this technique. And then the last meeting we have of this year is going to be November 14th. We're going to have our annual general meeting. Our board is going to be presenting the events of the year and talking about what we're going to be doing next year. So now I'm going to turn it over to the folks that are visiting us. Nisha, Vicki, and Diana, would you introduce yourselves and talk about your organization? And why don't we start with you, Vicki?
Okay, great. Thanks, Thea, for that introduction. I appreciate it. And I know that we have a lot of varied experiences in this particular meeting tonight. And I want to share with you that LeanCoffee is actually a great tool for people at all ends of the spectrum. So personally, I've been in information technology, primarily software development, for more than 15 years in a variety of support type of roles, such as I did do a little bit of business analysis, just enough to find out I wasn't good at it. So then toward project coordination, project management, and that sort of thing, until I found Agile, which I really love. And I will tell you that I've been a Scrum Master for 8 years, and that is a position where you really help coach the development teams, and you try to make sure that a lot of people within the organization are on the same page. And I'd like to hand it over to Nisha. Nisha is not only a Women in Agile enthusiast and organizer, she also leads the product owner group.
Yes, thank you for that, Vicki. As Vicki mentioned, I am a co-organizer for Tampa Bay Women in Agile, and earlier this year founded Tampa Bay Product Group. For the Tampa Bay Women in Agile, we meet every it's a great opportunity to, similar to how you do here at IIBA Tampa chapter, it's a great opportunity to meet with others that share the same interests as you. I'm currently a product manager focusing in health tech products. I will pass it over to Diana.
Hello, everyone. I'm Diana Ward. I am a native here in the Tampa area, was part of the original Tampa Agile group as it started up years ago. I've been in the Agile space over 15 years, and I've been every Agile role. I've been a BA, actually. In my previous life, I was a tech writer for many years also. Moved into project management. I've been a Scrum Master. I've been a product owner. And now I've gotten into enterprise agility consulting and really heavy on the change management side and really getting into systems coaching. So I've found a kind of a niche here with systems coaching and continuous improvement enablement. And Agile is just an amazing, and this might be my lead in into kind of like, what is Agile, right? We're going to talk about this tonight in our topic with LeanCoffee. I'm going to be very specifically vague because I want you to use the opportunity in LeanCoffee to ask all the questions you can think of, that you want answered around Agile. But think of it as a better way of working. How do we collaborate to deliver value to our customers? You might be familiar with traditional project management where you might have heard of waterfall, where you can take days to months to weeks to years to get value delivery to your customer. And often when we do that, we build the wrong thing, or by the time we get it to market, a competitor beat us to it, or it's obsolete. Agile fundamentally changes the way that we work and how we collaborate and how we include our customer along the journey early and often throughout the process. We find the right people to build the right thing at the right time. We take this big idea and we break it down into small pieces, and we work on small pieces at a time based on priority of value. We hand it to our customer. We ask them for feedback along the way. How do you like this? Are we building the right thing? We co-create with them. And we really synergize along that journey to develop what they want and need, not what we think they want and need. So it started out in software development as a very tech thing on how do we get better at developing and delivering software. And it has now scaled into the healthcare industry, the education industry. I work at Booz Allen now in the defense contracting industry. It's very big in the government sector. You'll see it in healthcare. And you'll see it everywhere. And I say it's not just a set of practices and methodologies. It fundamentally is a culture shift and a mindset and a way of being. So we'll talk about that tonight. Hopefully, if you open yourselves up and ask those questions.
Very good. Thank you so much. Okay, Vicky, why don't you give us the link to the board that we're going to use, and everybody go to the chat and pick up the link and enter the board. Vicky's going to walk us through what she needs from us, and then we're going to give her our participation in the board. So please do participate. You can only really learn this by getting your hands dirty. Get in there and participate. I apologize, Vicky. You are, first of all, you're on mute. Secondly, if you wanted to talk a little bit more about what Kanban is and things like that before you give us the board, that's fine. I'm being bossy, aren't I?
No, that's fine. It turned out that once I had started the screen share, I was no longer able to get to the part where I would mute. So, no, you're right, Thea. I will be sharing the link to our board. What I'd like to do a little bit first, if you don't mind, is I want to talk just a little bit about what to expect tonight. So I am putting a couple things in the chat. As we mentioned, what we're doing tonight is called LeanCoffee, and essentially that's a mechanism that allows or kind of invites open communication and collaboration, which is something that we highly value in Agile. And people call it a meeting without an agenda. So you might say, well, how can you possibly track a meeting if it doesn't have an agenda? And that is, we like to use something that we call a Kanban board, and I'm putting a link to what it says here in Wikipedia. But essentially, you can think of a Kanban board just as a big to-do list. For instance, if I have a bunch of stuff I want to get done, I write down all my tasks. And then what I end up doing in the Kanban board is I track them. As I do them, I put them in the doing column. And when I'm done, I put them in the done column. And that sounds very simplistic. And It is. There's actually much more in-depth models to that. And if you're familiar at all with Kanbans, you might know a little bit more about them. Like it lets you track how long a task has been in development. But tonight we're using something that takes a Kanban board type approach. And I've put the link to the LeanCoffee table board in our chat. So hopefully everybody can see this. Essentially what we have now here, it just looks like a blank slate. So what we're going to do is after I finish talking just a little bit, we'll add some topics that will appear as cards. So instance, I'll say, for instance, maybe I want to talk about in an Agile shop, do we still use BRDs? Because I think of analysts, for instance, as really compiling a lot of requirements documents. But you might have heard that in Agile, like for instance, in the Agile manifesto, they say that they don't value documentation. But that doesn't mean that we don't do it. It just means that we might have different priorities. Now, in this board, so you see how this is appeared as a card. So as we all enter these topics in the bubble and then press enter, you see a card. And what will happen is we will vote on the topics as they appear. And that's how I do that is I do this little vote button in the bottom left. And very similarly to other Agile experiences, if you've ever used a board like this, you're allowed 3 votes. And we can see here that someone's already put in a card. What's the difference between Scrum and Kanban? So if I change my mind and I decide that I don't want to have this topic, I can erase it. I can just hit that. There's like a little eraser icon in the bottom right. And I say, yeah, I want to delete this topic. So what, does anybody have any questions about what I've shared so far? Okay, so what will happen is we will enter our topics and then I will start the discussion. And as I do that, the tool will automatically prioritize the backlog of the topics by how many people who have voted on it. So what I'd like to invite you to do now is I will be mute so that I won't distract you. I'm going to set a timer for 2 minutes and I'm going to invite you to add topics to the board. Any questions or comments before we start? All right. This only works if you have cards in there. It doesn't have to be just about Agile. It can be about Lean. It could be about things that are bothering you within the organization or any other business challenges you have. And we as a group will decide what we care most about to discuss. So I'm going to go ahead and put on a 2-minute timer. Have fun.
Let me ask everyone to be brave and put at least 1 card in. 1 question about something about Agile or 1 thing about that you're having a challenge with that you want input from others. And look at that, they're rolling in. Look at the bravery. I love it.
Okay, we have 45 seconds left.
Someone has asked which Star Wars movie is the best.
Well, we can vote on them. One of the things is as we vote, we get to determine what question will benefit the most people. So the Star Wars question might not get as many votes, but it might.
Or it might get all the votes.
It might get all the votes.
My sarcasm's coming out, yeah. Yeah.
Does
You know, I think
pineapple
that's
belong
sarc-
on pizza?
These are not the developers you're looking for.
I already had my dinner, so don't make me hungry again.
All right. So we've got plenty of topics here. What I'd like now is y'all's help in seeing if there are any topics that we don't understand or they might kind of be similar to each other. So perhaps we should combine them. I'm just going to quickly run through them. What can we do to more likely succeed? A project has a vendor delivering a solution. How is change management done in Agile? Does pineapple belong on pizza? Let's see. Negative impact of Agile on software design overall. In a sprint, you're trying to deliver a workable piece of development. Testing is included in the sprint. What's your favorite tool to use for Agile teams? How would we deal with different ways of leadership within a business meeting? Is Agile dying? What is the real extent of the PO's power? And by PO, we mean product owner. Do we include documentation tasks in a sprint? How might a business analyst transition to an Agile role? What's the best way to run a retrospective? When a Scrum Master cannot resolve a particular obstacle, is it beyond his authority? How can you bring in all stakeholders to stay within the focus topic? How much training do you need to work in a Scrum shop? Is there a specific time you should use Waterfall over Agile? What are the biggest challenges of being a Scrum Master? When is Kanban better than Scrum? What is the difference between Scrum and Kanban? Okay, so we've got plenty of questions. I can guarantee you right now we will not talk about all of these. So let's vote. You get to have 3 votes, which means if there's a topic that you really want to discuss, you might put all 3 votes on that card. Otherwise, you might spread them out. And I'm choosing not to share my screen at the moment because I don't want to influence the vote. And that way we get to see everybody's faces. So let's take a moment to vote and then I'll be able to see if we've all voted.
You said we get 3 votes each, correct?
Yes, you do.
Okay. Use them or lose them, guys.
Yep. I see a number of people have already voted. And just as a reminder, there's a vote link on the bottom left of each card.
And if
Some people may not be able to vote depending on how they join the meeting. Priyanka, I see that you still have all your votes. Are you just thinking? Same with Beal.
I think I can vote. Let me check.
Okay. Well, we want to make sure your voices are heard via the vote, but we also don't want to hold up the discussion. So that's why I'm inviting everybody to use your votes. Beal, are you able to vote?
Eric, did you have to step away?
And you know, it's
No, I'm here. I'm looking for a subject. Someone mentioned, or Vicky read off something and I can't find it.
What
Um,
is
Like,
you
it
maybe
was
do
about
a
becoming a Scrum Master, something like that.
Okay, what are the biggest challenges of being a Scrum Master? I see on the bottom row. Maybe that will help you. And then there was also one, how a business analyst can transition to an Agile role. That's in the role above it, depending on how big your screen is. So it's probably the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. For me, it's the 9th card from the bottom.
There is a slide bar at the right. If you don't see 4 rows, you might have to slide up and down.
No, I see it. I voted.
Okay, and so Beal still has 1 vote, Leanne still has a vote, and Nathan still has a vote. Priyanka, you've got 2 votes.
Eric, you've got 1 more vote. Leanne,
All
Nathan,
right.
1 more
I'm going
vote.
to be starting the discussion, and you snooze, you lose. So
Okay.
I'm clicking the discuss button, and as you can see, the left column now has to discuss, and it has all the cards rated by the number of votes that something got. If two cards got similar number of votes as we see here, then they're just in whatever order. So the first one I see is something from Thea. In a sprint, you're trying to deliver a workable piece of dev. Is testing included in the sprint? So I've started a discussion for 4 minutes. We'll go ahead and start that. And at the end of the 4 minutes, we will vote on whether we want to continue that topic or if we want to move to the next. And let me reset since I just said that. So Thea, would you like to share a little bit about your thoughts here?
Yes. One of the goals of this is that we deliver workable code at the end of the sprint. But the testing very often delays the delivery of the code. And a 2-week sprint, it's really hard to get development and testing all done. Some people put testing in the following sprint, which kind of bastardizes the goal. And so some organizations have struggled going back and forth on this. I'd like to know what your organization does if you have experienced this quandary.
So I have some thoughts on this, but I'd love to hear from either Anisha or Diana or anybody else who has experience with this.
We've got a hand up.
Go ahead, Diana.
Andrea?
Oh, I'm sorry. Andrea.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so currently we just started implementing sprints in my team, and I'm the Scrum Master, even though I'm just very, very fresh into doing it. But what we do, we were running in 2-week sprints, and now we moved into basically monthly sprints because of that. And what we try to do is to make sure that the stories or the issues that we put in the sprint are quite contained, and then we move it from dev into test, and then from test the last day of the sprint we get it ready for production. If it doesn't get ready to go all the way to production with user acceptance testing and everything, then what we do is we revert the changes. We try not to leave things in test in our system. We use SAP. So that's what we do. We include testing, and we include the transport all the way to release. And then what we do is in the last week, usually after we release it, we have 4 days where we have a period of review and retrospective where the changes in production, and then we see if there's any issues coming.
Okay, thanks for that, Andrea. So if I were to recap this, what I think I heard is that the way your organization has chosen to handle this is by lengthening the sprint 4 weeks instead of 2 or 3, and by essentially having a code freeze. Is that accurate? That seems to be working for y'all. Priyanka, what would you like to share?
So I would like to share, like, whenever we are testing, if we get any issues, it will go back to the developer and it will come back, and again you're supposed to test all the functionalities. So I was thinking hello?
Hi, Priyanka, I'm sorry. Are you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Okay, apologies. Okay. Diana, did you have something?
Yeah, so ideally we want to be, everything goes down to your definition of done for your team, first of all, is where I would start. But ideally you want to get testing, you want to get everything done to where you can have potentially shippable code and features at the end of your iteration, whether that be a 2-week sprint, a 3-week sprint, a 4-week sprint. The average is usually 2 to 3. And if you can't get that all done, then you need to look at, are we vertically slicing our stories? Are we breaking them down small enough so that we can complete all of the tasks within the same iteration? Ideally, we want, again, our goal is to have potentially shippable product at the end of that iteration, and that means tested all the way through. And we don't want to be waiting to the last day of the sprint to do that. That's what's so great about our Kanban boards, is we can see what next.
Okay, so now we have the opportunity to vote, and on your screen you may see, for instance, that we have thumbs up means you want to keep talking. Thumbs down means you're over it. You want to move to the next topic. And if you're wishy-washy, you can say no preference. So let's go ahead and vote. And it looks like so far, unless other people vote, looks like we are ready to move to our next topic. So Thea, I hope this helped you a little bit. I think there's plenty more that we could say, but this is one of the beauties of having Lean Coffee is that people who are involved in the discussion get to decide what they want to discuss and how long they'd like to discuss it, and if they like the direction the discussion's taking. So I've moved that to our done column, and now we have a new topic also offered by Thea. What's the difference between Scrum and Kanban? And I think that's pretty self-explanatory, and I'd like to invite anybody who wants to go ahead and chime in your thoughts.
I'd like to hear Diana's ideas about this.
Oh, okay. Okay, so Scrum, again, we talked about having like iterations that we work in, right? We have a dedicated team, ideally that's 100% dedicated to developing this product. We work in our set iterations, and we're only focused on working on those things within that iteration that's prioritized by the product owner. So product owners deciding what comes next, what's the highest value. Out of that, the team is going to decide how much they can work on within that iteration, based on their capacity and their knowledge, and how much they can take on and successfully complete within that iteration. So that's very much how that will work in a Scrum environment. When we look at Kanban, it's a pull system. So what I mean by a pull system, we take in work as capacity opens up for the team. So we don't necessarily work in iterations. We have a backlog. They're prioritized. A lot of times you'll see production support. Often teams that have interruptions, that priorities are constantly changing. This is where Kanban is a great setup, because we make commitments in Scrum that we want to keep, and with Kanban sometimes it works for teams that there's just too much change, and like I said, production support, things can change on a daily basis. So we pull in work as we have capacity, and it's always flowing, and we have different ways that we can visualize how we're working and see where we have bottlenecks. So even in Kanban, even in Scrum, we're still using a visual board, right? We're still seeing our workflow and how work is passing. So we really focus on flow in Kanban, and within Scrum, we're really looking at delivering what we commit to within that iteration. And we don't want to be interrupting that sprint. When we have something new and emergent that happens, we say, let's get it into the backlog and prioritize it in another iteration.
Thanks, Diana. That's a great description. I have heard Kanbans described as a gateway to Agile as well, when they find that they work really well. And so I see we have Nathan, you'd like to make a point?
Yeah, sure. I think it's important to kind of know that it's kind of hard to compare the two. Kanban is just what in Agile is referred to as an information radiator. So all it is it's a tool to help everybody see what's going on in the sprint, where people are at, what the progress is. So it's just one tool under the umbrella of Agile. So kind of comparing, making the comparison isn't really, I think, it's like comparing a banana with driving or something. You might drive to get a banana, but you're not going to drive. You're not going to drive or banana.
Oh, that's funny. Akshay, you had something you wanted to share?
Yes. So I don't come from a software development background. Like I work for a manufacturing company, but we use a Kanban board. But it's not like how it is in the software, like Agile field. So in my company, we have a big accountability board, so which is in for 3 weeks. So, and there's several departments. So each department has a task assigned, but it's not based on the timeliness or the value added. Like the value is going to be different for each. So one department has this task to be end by Tuesday, even though it's not important. And so you move along the board. Okay, next. So there's always something going on. So for production, it's going to be even more severe, because obviously they have to meet deadlines. So I work in CI. I don't have like production deadlines, but I have project deadlines. But there can be some knickknacks in that, they'll be like, okay, it's fine, we can move to the next week or something like that. So yeah, that's how I see the difference between Scrum and Kanban. So yeah, as someone is saying, Scrum is a process, but Kanban is a tool. That's absolutely correct.
Right.
Thank you for that. We do need to take a break here and choose whether to move to the next topic or continue talking about this one. So everybody please vote. And looks like we are ready to end this topic and go to the next. So a very interesting discussion. Thank you, Thea, for suggesting it. I would like just to take a quick break and ask Thea, how we did not discuss how long we're going to do this exercise. What time did you want to stop the LeanCoffee board?
Why don't we stop at about 50 after 10 till?
10 till.
And that way people can ask any other questions that they have that are outside of LeanCoffee. They may want to know more about your organization or something, and that's not what we have on the board right now, but I want to give them that opportunity because you are there in Tampa Bay, and anyone in Florida in the Tampa area could participate in your organization. So we might do that for the last 10 minutes.
Okay. So I'm going to ask folks to help me with that. I'll try to pay attention, but sometimes I get wrapped into the discussion. So our next topic was suggested by Nathan is Agile dying. And I think that's pretty self-explanatory as well, but I'd like to invite Nathan. What were your thoughts here?
Yeah, so it seems like the basics of Agile are used a lot, the sprints and then, maybe some of the other things along the way, but a lot of it seems to be falling away from what I've seen, and that people are kind of, Scrum is one framework that runs on Agile, but even, people are kind of just hybridizing it with all kinds of other things. And I was just kind of curious if that's what other people have seen. I think a lot of the roles are kind of going away. Maybe, like a Scrum Master and some of that stuff. And so I'm just kind of wondering, well, I guess that's specific to Scrum and not Agile, but I don't know, I'm just kind of curious what other people have observed and what parts are kind of going to remain.
So Thea, you have thoughts?
I do. I have got two thoughts. In my experience, people that have installed Agile well, Scrum well, they're doing fine. It's not going away. They've proven its value and the organization is wanting to keep it. They're not, rewinding. But the whole theory, the whole premise on Agile is you do what's best for the organization, for the team, for the project at that time, and you have self-directed teams. People are going to choose different things. So we don't follow the rules rigidly. And so everyone is going to look different. So what you're doing as Agile in your organization is going to be very different than what I'm doing in my organization 10 years later. That we've had all of this evolution and all of this training. I really feel like if people find value in it, they're going to use it. And if they don't find value in it, they're going to find something else that they can show, test that there's value.
Andrea, what were you thinking?
I was gonna mention that for us, I work in the government in New Zealand, and we always are like 10 or 15 years behind what's the trend. So for us, it will still be a trend for the next 15 years. So we're all good here. But no, just to be more serious, I did went to conference where it was about Agile, and they were discussing this topic quite thoroughly. And it's a little bit like Thea said, it really depends. And I think like maybe the hype of Agile might be coming down and maybe some new term might come around, but there's a lot of tools within Agile that I think that they're still valuable and applicable. And it all depends on the organization and how you're using it.
Yeah, I would say that reflects my observations. Nisha.
I agree with what everyone before me has said. Just the one thing to add on is it producing value for your teams, right? So when the leadership team doesn't think that Agile is working anymore, working meaning producing results that they're wanting, then that is when these organizations are pivoting away from Agile. It could still be called that.
Nice points. Thanks for that. We have the opportunity to vote. Would you like to keep talking about this? If so, thumbs up. Otherwise, thumbs down or no preference. Oh, and we have a solid suggestion to go to the next topic. So Nathan, thank you for suggesting this. This is something that actually appears a lot in Agile conversations. So glad to touch base on that. Do we include documentation tasks into a sprint? So anybody like to jump in on this?
I raised that one, and my question was because, like I said, we just started implementing the sprints, and we extended them to 4 weeks now. But like, in the current situation that I am, I'm rewriting business processes which are written in errors process library, and I'm rewriting some documentation, quick reference guides for the end users, and that can be done within the sprint. But like what sometimes is tough to get done is to get approval from the business that that's exactly what they wanted, and that's the process that they want, especially when it's business processes. And so I just wanted to put it out there. What do you think about documentation for those people that are more experts in Agile? Is it something that is achievable in a sprint, or should we go throughout sprints and stuff?
Great question. And Diane has very robust experience in both documentation and Agile, so I'd like to invite her to lead.
So I'm gonna throw it out there and say it really depends, because what is your document, right? So like you could talk about a whole training manual, let's be real, is not going to be completed in a 2-week iteration, right? But we have to think about, I look at that as part of change management. What are we doing to prepare our users to be ready to accept what we're delivering, right? And so user guides and online help, all those context sensitive help in our software, all those things we should be thinking about, right? And we should be putting those things into our backlog. And from a change management perspective, I think it's important to have change management activities embedded within your backlog and within your sprints. So it's about what to do and when. Keep in mind, getting something done in a sprint does not mean we're releasing it to production. That's a whole different conversation. So we might have several iterations of sprints that we complete to get a feature set done, or to say we have enough value, enough meat on the stick that we feel like we should deliver this together, these components together, versus every 2 weeks pushing something out to production. So release management's a whole other thing, and that really is about, we have to think about change saturation with our users too. How much are they getting? And how quickly are they getting things? How can they consume change? What other things are happening in their world? Should we put this off, and maybe we're doing a quarterly release, but we're still working in 2-week iterations to get the work done and ready. So you have time to build in that documentation when you look at it that way. So you have to think about what's your release plan and change management. But ideally, yes, those should be included in your backlog and change management activities as well.
So thanks for that. You made some great points, Diana. Thea, you had something you wanted to share.
Very quickly, until something is ready to go into production, you don't have to document for the user, because people will keep making changes to it until that point. And so if you try, I was once told to create training before they had even gotten designed done. It was crazy. And the second thing is documentation is a gift to your future selves. Be sure that whenever you want to look back at it in 6 months, you don't have to have it in your head. You've documented it so that you or anybody else that's looking back at it knows what's going on and has the tools and equipment that they need.
I love that. Documentation's a gift to your future self. Nisha, you were going to make a point.
Not to go quoting the Agile manifesto or anything, but
Almost
I'm
went
gonna
there. I
do
almost
it.
went there. I almost went there. So I'm glad you
gonna
are.
do it. So, Agile manifesto says something like we value working product over documentation. So
Mhm.
if that is part of your working product, like how are you going to define your working product? Like, will this work without the documentation? Then I think that that kind of helps to make that
Mhm.
decision.
Yeah. Good.
Okay. Thanks, everybody. We're at the point where we want to vote about this. Do we want to keep talking about documentation within the sprint or move to the next topic? And it looks overwhelmingly like folks are ready to move on. So I will share with you, this is an interesting experience for me because quite often people will want to continue talking about a topic and continue talking about it. So this is interesting and almost refreshing. So Nathan has a question. What's the best way to run a retrospective? And I'd like to ask Nathan, was there something specific you were looking to get out of this?
Yeah, so I guess with retrospective, just from a leadership standpoint, I think was kind of curious because I've seen it done different ways, and sometimes I think there's I've also seen people maybe take it personally when things need to change, and so just kind of curious what other people's thoughts were on that.
So one thing I heard you say was leadership, and that kind of piqued my interest because it made me curious about whether leading the retrospective or leadership voices. And normally retrospectives should only be for the folks who do the actual work. Nobody else should be involved. And a big part of Scrum is building trust within our teams and transparency. And yes, there's going to be conflict, but hopefully get to a point, and I love what Diana just said, psychological safety. We want to make it a place where you can say things, but you also want to be able to say, Bill, why the hell didn't you get this done? Or whatever. And I had to pull your slack this time. And maybe Bill shares that he's had a major family trauma that he wasn't comfortable talking about until then. Whatever. We want to get to the point where people can be honest with each other. So that's just me rambling. I would like to invite Thea to go ahead and share her thoughts.
Retrospectives are one of my absolute favorite things because it gives everyone the opportunity to identify things that need to be improved. I very often say you can't fix a problem that you don't name, and somebody's got to name it. At the same time, having a facilitator that's not embedded in the group, an outside facilitator, allows it to be a little easier because, you're not saying, come on, Bill, you didn't speak up last time. You've got a facilitator that makes it easy to talk, and getting people to feel like their voices are going to matter. What they say is going to matter whenever they leave the room. It's not, they're just venting and nothing's ever going to change. That's a very key point on retrospectives. I think I did a retrospective when my son-in-law came to visit. On the last day, I said, is there anything we could have done better to make you feel more comfortable? Was the bed good? I mean, retrospectives are good for everything. I do it with my husband too. He hates it. We turn it over to Nisha.
Yeah, I saw a button when I was leaving the airport in Atlanta bathroom that had either a thumbs up or a thumbs down for the way the restroom looked. And today when I had surgery, the surgery center had signs everywhere is how can we improve your experience? So Nisha, I'd like you to share in our last couple minutes your thoughts.
My first is actually a question. So Nathan, what were you looking for? Like, is it that, participation isn't as you hope in a retrospective? Do you need to convince leadership that this is actually a good use of the team's time? What issue are you encountering?
I think it's more along the lines of, how you could have a facilitator that runs it, and what techniques are good to use.
In that case, I will say I absolutely love Chris Stone's resources. If you don't know about Chris Stone, he actually puts out a lot of great retrospective templates. And that really helps to kind of bring the team to like a level where you don't necessarily need somebody to facilitate necessarily. Like the team as a whole can just kind of walk through, because you are essentially answering these questions, the three main ones, but it breaks it down to more of like a conversation, versus like three columns of, okay, these are what we're trying to answer. I hope that helps.
Okay, and I see also that Diana shared a link for Tasty Cupcakes as a resource you might want to consider. So we are at the end of our time for this card, and we're also at the end of our time for the Lean Coffee discussion. But hopefully this has given you enough of an insight that you know what to expect now and whether you think it might provide value for your team. So Thea, I'd like to hand it back over to you.
Thank you so much. So if we wanted to use this board, is it leancoffeetable.com?
Yes, I have actually a subscription. I think you can get a free version for a month, but there are also other boards that you can use for free. I just find them a little bit clunkier. So if you'd like, Thea, I can reach out to you offline to share you a little bit more about that. And then, as you mentioned earlier, if you have a license for a whiteboard tool such as Miro or Mural, you can use that. It's just a little more difficult sometimes for folks who've not used that tool previously.
Okay, thank you so much. So I'd like to spend just a few minutes. Does anyone have any questions about the lean coffee technique? I realize this is new to some of you. I want to point out the benefit of being able to get the information from the people in the group that are participating, because it creates a emotional engagement of this came from me. You know, we are the ones who created this. And then whenever people are voting, that allows you to address the things that will benefit the most people in the room. Some lean coffee is done this way. Some lean coffee is done where you vote and then people go into different breakout rooms to talk about the different things. And there's this concept of facilitation that you vote with your feet in that case. You know, you just go wherever you're supposed to be, and there's rules about it. If you're there, you're supposed to be there. If you leave, you're supposed to leave. That's okay. There's no hard feelings. Nobody's going to get mad. And if you participate, you participate. They even have terms like you can be a ladybug, a butterfly, and going from one place to another, just, you know, gathering the little nectar that you can find in places, and others you're right there participating. So it's a really cool way to get people to engage. Also, as a facilitator, you want to find out what people have to say instead of going to say, okay, what do you think we should talk about today in this meeting? What do you think we should talk about? Say, bring your topics. We're going to do lean coffee and we're going to learn something new. So I see Vicky has posted several things in the chat.
Yeah, I
want
love
you to pay
that
attention.
you made that connection between lean coffee and what we know as open space. Diana is actually a facilitator in open space, and the first time I ever met her, she actually was leading open space. So if you were to imagine something like lean coffee, but all day, where people, so Diana, you want to just give a quick little blurb about that?
Sure. I love open space. So it's basically, consider it like the unconference, right? There's no agenda. The people who show up, similar to Lean Coffee, decide what they want to talk about. They create their marketplace of topics. And we have different breakout areas, and you go where your desire is, and you show up. Either you have something to contribute to the conversation, or you want to learn something about the conversation. And to Thea's point, if you don't feel like you're bringing value or you're getting something out of it, you can walk away. It's called the law of 2 feet. And you're either the butterfly or the bee, and you're not, it's really about your time, your space, and the value that you're getting and the value that you're bringing. It's very cool. People who experience it for the first time, a lot of times they're like, I paid money for this conference and there's no agenda. What the heck? This seems so chaotic. It's literally, it's controlled chaos. We want chaos to happen. You may have two topics that are similar and you have to decide, do we want to break out into different sessions? Do we want to merge them? Sometimes people have a conversation in the hallway and create their own open space. And it's all about what's emergent and what needs to happen. And whoever's supposed to be there are the right people. And it's so powerful. It might be fun to even like do a demonstration or create like a little mini open space event to experience. So maybe something we think about.
Yeah, and one of the things I really love about open space also is that they say, and don't worry about if nobody shows up for your talk, because this gives you an hour for you to focus on this and be able to spend time uninterrupted on it. And also too, open space is a really great idea for organizations who are facing specific challenges. If they invite people at various levels, they'll get a lot of robust kinds of ways of looking at things.
Yeah, everyone has a voice in open space. And if you don't speak and you don't put down a topic, that's on you. You know, you get out of it what you put into it. So it's really incredible. I encourage everyone to participate in some way.
I participated in a open space agile coaching workshop with 38 strangers. And by the end of the weekend, we felt like we were very close friends because it was very easy to be vulnerable and share. And, you know, it was a phenomenal experience.
Yeah.
Let's switch gears real quick. Vicki, would y'all talk about your organization just a little bit? When are you having your next meetings? What are your topics? Things like that. If you'll, I know we've got two organizations here.
Actually, Nisha might be in a better position to talk about that because I've had to take a bit of a back seat due to some health challenges. So Nisha, are you comfortable jumping in?
Yes, absolutely. So I'll actually speak on behalf of both organizations. So let's start with Tampa Bay Women in Agile. So we are actually meeting on October 10th, I believe.
It's going to be a Thursday night at the same time as our meeting.
The 10th.
But you can go to that one if you want to. So what's the next topic going to be, Nisha?
So for our Women in Agile, we are going to have Anjali Leone coming in doing a presentation on unmasking the theatrics. 10 behaviors holding back Kanban teams. Anjali, so this is a virtual event. Tampa Bay Women in Agile, we meet every month. Every other month, we meet in person. On opposite months, we're meeting virtually, typically with a presenter, some time for an open discussion and a little bit of networking as well. When we are meeting in person, it's usually strictly networking, just talking about how we're using Agile. It really is just kind of open forum, connecting with people that are like-minded. Vicki, Diana, did I miss anything there?
No, I mean, we are always looking for people who want to get involved in Tampa Women in Agile. We are always looking for speakers, you know, we're always looking for topics. So reach out if you're interested. We do have a calendar out there and we do have a lineup coming for the next year. We just have to get, we got to figure out who's going to go in what slot on our off months. So we're working on that. So more to come on our next year calendar, but we've got about we've got several speakers that have raised their hand. So we're kind of going through that.
Very good. And
I got a question for you. Do you kick the guys out?
No, we actually have men. We have a lot of men show up and support us. Anyone can come as long as you support Women in Agile. So that's a good question, though. It's not limited. We do have a lot of men who come and support our organization. So especially like leaders in organizations who are supportive. So we encourage that.
Great. And the Tampa Product Group.
Yes. So Tampa Bay Product Group, we meet on the second Tuesday of every month. So our next event is on Tuesday, October 8th. We meet once a month, every month in person. We'll have someone come in from the community that is a product leader. This month, we have Ed Martin, who's going to be talking about soft skills and product. You can stay in touch with both organizations. I posted both the LinkedIn group as well as the meetup. All of our events are posted there for both of our groups. So definitely stay in touch, and looking forward to seeing you at a future IIBA study group.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. This was a fantastic joint meeting. We learned a new technique, we learned a new tool, we practiced some new things, and we learned more about Agile. If anyone has any questions about what we talked about tonight, funnel them through me. And if I don't know, I'll be glad to pass it on to our SMEs that are in the room. Nisha, did you have your hand up?
Yes, I did want to add on. I know, Thea, that you had mentioned it at the top of the call as well, but I did want to offer support on behalf of Tampa Bay Women in Agile as well as Tampa Bay Product. If there's anyone out there that needs help in any way, we're here to support. If you are interested in becoming a co-organizer and joining our team, we'd love to have you. Please reach out.
Very good. Okay, one last note. The nominations for Volunteer of the Year have been released, and there were 6 of us out of this chapter that received nominations. So good for the leadership of this chapter. I can tell you the leadership is working very hard to try to bring you high value, as well as make our chapter as strong and robust and sustainable as we can. If anyone is wanting to help joining us, we are looking for 2 more people that would like to be on our chapter's board. We will see you here next week. Let me see. I forgot to find out what we're doing next week after I said all those words earlier.
We have Promise next week.
Oh, yes. That's right.
Salesforce.
Salesforce for business analysts, and Promise has done this presentation a couple of times, so I'm confident that he's got it down. He's been working with Salesforce for a while. And as you know, if you've never worked with Salesforce, Salesforce is an up and coming big thing. And there's certifications and all kinds of stuff that can go along with it. So join us here next week. We're going to work with Promise and Salesforce and bring your questions. Thank y'all so much for joining us tonight. We'll see you next week. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Thanks for having us. Bye, everyone.